Be honest with yourself for a moment. You've cut people off. Maybe one person, maybe many. And when you did it, when you finally stopped answering, stopped explaining, stopped making yourself available, you felt something that surprised you. Not grief, not guilt, relief. And somewhere underneath the relief was a quieter feeling. The sense that you were finally doing something honest. Something that matched who you actually are. This video is not going to tell you that you are wrong. But it's also not going to tell you what the other videos in this space will tell you. That cutting people off is sophisticated. That your early warning system is a superpower. That your small circle is proof you're doing relationships correctly. Because the research says something more complicated than that. And you deserve the more complicated version. Let's start with what's actually happening when you cut someone off. Murray Bowen, the psychiatrist who developed family systems theory at the National Institute of Mental Health, coined the term emotional cutoff to describe a specific pattern he observed across hundreds of families. And here's what the other videos in this space consistently get wrong about his work. Bowen did not describe emotional cutoff as sophistication. He described it as anxiety management. Emotional cutoff, in Bowen's original framework, is what happens when unresolved emotional tension in a relationship becomes too uncomfortable to stay present with. The distance it creates is real. The relief it produces is real. But Bowen was precise about what that relief actually is: the temporary reduction of anxiety produced by distance. Not resolution, not healing, distance. His concept of differentiation, the thing emotional cutoff mimics but isn't, describes something harder and more valuable. The ability to remain emotionally connected to people while maintaining a clear sense of self. Not walls, not withdrawal. Presence that doesn't require you to lose yourself to sustain it. That distinction matters, because one of those things produces relief. The other produces the actual safety you're looking for. Here's what the attachment research shows about where the pattern comes from. John Bowlby's foundational work on attachment, extended by decades of research from Mario Mikulincer, Philip Shaver, and colleagues, documents what happens when early caregiving is consistently unresponsive or emotionally unavailable. Children in those environments learn, through accumulated experience rather than conscious decision, that expressing need leads to disconnection. To cope, they turn inward, developing a sense of independence that becomes defensive rather than adaptive. This strategy allows the child to survive emotionally, but it does so at the cost of limiting intimacy and emotional awareness in ways that follow the child into adulthood. The attachment system that was calibrated in that environment doesn't update automatically when the environment changes. It carries the original settings forward, into adult friendships, into romantic relationships, into the moment someone gets close enough to activate it. And the system fires not because they are dangerous, but because closeness itself became associated with danger. And here's the finding that neither source script will include. Research on avoidant attachment consistently shows that individuals with this pattern report higher loneliness levels than those with secure attachment, not lower. The peace that solitude provides is real. And underneath it, the research finds a loneliness that doesn't announce itself as loneliness. Because it has been present so long, it registers as normal, as simply the way things are. You're not lonely. You've become so accustomed to a specific kind of loneliness that it stopped feeling like loneliness and started feeling like preference. Here's the most important thing the other videos never say. The early warning system that makes you good at reading people, the pattern recognition, the ability to spot dynamics others miss, isn't only an asset. Research on early emotional stress and neural development shows that people who grew up managing unpredictable emotional environments develop heightened threat detection as an adaptation. The threat detection system fires faster and reads social information more acutely than average. The other videos celebrate this as sophistication, and in some contexts it is. But the same system also produces false positives. It misidentifies safety as danger. It reads connection as threat. It fires at people who would not have hurt you if given the time and trust to prove it. And you cut them off before they got the chance. Not because they were draining, because proximity itself activated a system calibrated in childhood for a different set of conditions than the ones you're actually living in now. Every time you cut someone off and feel relief, the The nervous system learns the lesson again. Distance equals safety. Closeness equals threat. The belief doesn't weaken over time. It strengthens through repetition. The threshold for cutting off lowers with each cycle, until the system fires faster and faster at less and less provocation. Not because people are getting worse, because the pattern is getting more practiced. Here's what the cutting off actually costs you, named precisely. Research on avoidant attachment and relationship outcomes is consistent. The withdrawal that feels like protection correlates negatively with relationship satisfaction across multiple studies. It produces relationships that stay surface level because depth activates the system. Conflicts that never resolve because resolution requires staying in the room past the point of discomfort. People who eventually stop reaching because the signal keeps returning that reaching isn't welcome. And over time, the equation deepens. The list of people trusted enough for the 3 a.m. call gets shorter. Not because those people prove themselves untrustworthy, because the system that evaluates trustworthiness has been running on increasingly sensitive settings for increasingly long. You end up with a circle so carefully curated that almost nobody is in it. And you call that wisdom? Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's the pattern protecting itself by calling itself discernment. The difference between those two things is the most important question this video is asking, and the most honest person to answer it is you. Here's what's actually true, and it's more generous than either version you've been offered. The cutting off isn't weakness. It isn't sophistication either. It's a response, learned, adaptive, once necessary, to conditions that taught you that emotional closeness was expensive and that the cost was yours to pay alone. That response made complete sense when it formed. It protected you when protection was genuinely needed. The question isn't whether it was rational then. It was. The question is whether it's serving you now, or whether it's running on a blueprint drawn in a different environment for a different set of threats. Bowen's concept of differentiation, the goal his entire framework was pointing toward, is not the elimination of boundaries. It's the development of a self secure enough to stay present with difficulty without being destroyed by it. Not distance, not merger. The specific, hard-won capacity to be close to people and still be yourself. That's harder than cutting off. It requires tolerating the specific discomfort of being known by someone who could leave, of staying in the room past the point where the system is telling you to go. It's also what the research shows produces what you're actually looking for. Not the relief of distance, the specific, earned safety of a relationship that has been through difficulty and chosen to continue. Both are available to you. The question is, which one you're ready to build. Here's what I want to ask you before you leave. Not about the people you cut off, about you. When was the last time someone genuinely knew what was happening inside you? Not the version you present, not the competent, together, unbothered version, the actual one. The one that exists in the gap between who you are and who you let people see. If an answer came quickly, you probably have more than you think. If it took a while, if you had to go back further than feels comfortable, drop a comment. Not to explain yourself, just to mark that you noticed, because noticing is where it starts. And the people reading these comments tonight are in the same room as you. And if you want content that takes human psychology seriously enough to tell you what you didn't ask to hear, subscribe. We make videos for people who'd rather understand themselves than feel better about themselves. That's the difference.